Just a quick leather bracelet tutorial. This is already dyed, cut and dyed. A first time for a longer bracelet that would have maybe had snaps, but I've decided to use these cool metal ends because they fit this leather perfectly. So I'm going to cut down the leather a little bit and refinish the end. So I want this to be able to fit a man or a woman, so I'm going to compromise a little bit. I've got a straight razor, and with the ends, and then I'm going to be adding findings to little links and a clasp to this. So I've got to factor that in. So I think I'll cut the leather at 7.5 inches because I can always add a chain for length. So I love this wooden ruler. It's old as the hills. I don't even know where it came from. Probably preschool or something. My preschool. So there we go. I just kind of did an initial first cut at 7.5 inches. And now I'm just going to cut all the way through. And we'll save this piece for later. That can be a cool addition to a keychain or some kind of pendant maybe. You just never know, just to add another layer. So we're going to just set that aside. And I'm going to close that. Since I'm not working with these, I'm going to move those. Close that. Now I've got, these are specifically for cutting leather. They are extremely sharp, but I'm just going to round this end out just a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to the opposite side to get that other corner, because I'm not very good at rounding it. Okay, so that's pretty good. Nothing, like I said, nothing I do is perfect, but I'm going to get a little piece of sanding paper to sand that down. Okay, that's my fresh cut there. This is some fine 4 zeros, or no, that's steel wool. Where's this one? P220. So it's a pretty fine grit. And I'm just going to sand that edge down, kind of rounding it out a little bit. It doesn't hurt the leather. It just smooths it out, just like if you were filing a little piece of wood. Get those little rough edges off. Let's do a little bit more. That looks pretty good. Okay, so that rounded it out a little bit more. Now I still have these funny little edges. So I've got a beveling tool, and it's got like a little 2-fork prong on it that's kind of it's like a razor. So I'm just going to set this down and put a beveled edge, which is just angling that leather just a little bit. Okay, you can get the underneath. It's not easy to do, but you can just kind of shave away some of those frays, because then we're going to take care of that some more. It's not too bad. With just a little bit, this is just my bottled water that I purchased because I don't want the minerals from just the sink, the tap water. So I'm just a very small amount of water, and I just dab that on the end. It's not soaking wet, but it's just damp. That corner just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to let it sit for just a minute while I put my beveling tool up and my sandpaper and my razor. And what I'm putting them into is a tackle box. Tackle box works really, really well for your tools, small tools. Now, we're going to burnish the ends, so that means it's going to smooth it out. This is a burnishing tool, and I use all parts of this, as you can tell from, I must have just dyed something when I first started doing this and didn't realize I couldn't bevel it yet. But it's got different sizes where you can insert the leather, and this isn't about strength and pressure, this is about friction that smooths this out. So let's try this small one here, and you just go back and forth on it. So this leather, it got a little bit soft there. So I just want to be careful not to mash the leather. So I think I'll use this end here. If I wasn't making a video, I'd probably set it aside and do something else for a few minutes. But this should be all right. Sometimes you get a little soft spot in a leather too, but I think I did that with the water. So I'm going to try trimming it just a little bit. And what this does is it winds up putting a finish and a shine on the leather. I don't know if you can tell, that's coming up to a shine. And it kind of seals the end. I do have special paints that are kind of like, they're sort of rubber-like. Let's let that sit for a second. I'll show you what these are. It's called Edge Finish paint. Now they did not pay me to show you this or anything. This just happens to be what I have here. It's called Real Leather Edge Finish paint, and this one is a dark chocolate. This is probably what I would use. It'd be a little bit lighter than that, and I wouldn't like it quite as much. So I prefer burnished edge. Every now and again I do use this with the black more than I use it for the brown. But sometimes with upcycled leather, I'll use this when I'm making leather cuffs. But I prefer only to use the black on black if I have to, or to burnish the edge, which is what we're doing with this wooden tool, wooden burnishing tool. So you always have a couple options. There we go, that's a little better. So again, this isn't about strength, it's just about friction and running that wooden burnishing tool over the leather that had been slightly dampened. And if you dampen it just a little too much like I did, just let it sit for a minute. And then come back and burnish it some more. You can even hear how it seems like it's a little tacky, and you can feel how it becomes more smooth. Now this is going to be going inside of our finding, our little brass finding for the end, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want you to just see that shine on there? Not the neatest? It's a totally finished edge. Okay, so now we've got our shortened piece of leather here. I think I did about 7.5 inches. I did 7.5 inches, and I think I'll go ahead and put these on, and then place my I'm gonna go turquoise on this with that brass. What do you think? So maybe I'll wait to put those on. Got my hole punch. Got my ruler. And my glass etching tool that I love to use to mark my where I'm going to put things. So I'm going to go with some turquoise. I'm going to find the center of this. So I'm at 7.5, so I want 4 3/4. No, 3 3/4. There we go. Can't do my math. Okay. And I want to get right in the center of that. So I'm going to measure it this way too. 1 2 3. So let's go, whoops, 1.5. Let's go right there. And I just tap that center. And that's my center center spot for some turquoise. And then let's go another little bit here. I'm going just a little less than 1/2 inch. And the same on the other side. It's always good to measure instead of eyeball, because once you get the spots or rivets on, you can tell if one's off. Sorry about the air conditioner in the background. I had to run an errand. When I came back in, the smell of that is not quite as long as the other one. Let me see. Oh, okay. So I remeasure it, come out just a little bit more. And it's okay because the rivet's going to cover that. Okay. Get my hole punch. Center it over my marking. And punch through. Give it a twist. Come again. Give it a twist. And I'm going to this outside spot. I had to change my marking. Okay. So that's pretty good. These rivets have 2 parts to them. So this is a medium-sized rivet. I'm going to get the turquoise and the cap. Oh, sorry, y'all couldn't see that. There we go. The turquoise and the cap. That's one medium, and then I'm going to grab a couple of smalls. To go on either side of that. stone part and the cap. Okay, so this is a rubber hammering board to absorb the shock, but also to protect the stone. And we're done with that water. We're done with that for now. Okay, so I'm just going to move this aside. And take my larger turquoise rivet and put it in the center hole that I created, and turn it over and place the cap on top. And I'm going to push that onto the stem, the cap onto the stem. You can feel it sort of click. That's not all you do, you wind up hammering it. Now I can go ahead and I can place all of these. And get it on there straight. This one does not want to go on straight. Probably because of my nails. There we go. And it clicked. So we'll have a little cluster of turquoise. And this third one. Okay. So they're just loosely in there. And so now I'm going to get my setting tools, which for the big ones, and you can use them for the small ones too, it is just this metal tool that has a slight divot on one end. And I also have a smaller one too that can be useful. Same thing, only it's got a very shallow divot. Okay, so we'll go with the big one. I turn it over. The stones are facing the rubber mat, which is going to protect the stones. I take the indented side, I don't know what to call it, and place it over the back of the cap there. Center it and hold it steady. I'm going to hammer it, and then I'm going to hammer it while I just gradually go around it. Then I test it. Yep, and it's in. That's solid. So I'm going to do this to the other two as well. Now, because the center one is bigger and I'm impatient and I could have done the smaller ones, hammered those first, I can just come to the edge here so that that larger stone is hanging over the edge. I'm always looking for shortcuts. I don't know about y'all. I heard that click, so that's not in. I'm going to hammer it from this side. There we go, that got it. Now we'll do this last one. Come over to this side, just to make sure it's really in there. Nope, it's a little loose for my liking, so Let's use the smaller one. Use that slightly indented side. All right, we got it. Ta-da! Isn't that pretty? Now, I was trying to decide whether to add the shotgun shell rivets to this or not. Let's see what it looks like with these. Might be a little big for the leather, I don't know. Those are my scrap ones that I messed up when I was first learning how to do the shotgun shell rivet caps. Shotgun shell cap rivets. There we go. I think I might like this. I think I like that. Once it's in there, it won't be sticking up so high. So I've got 2 of the backings and 2 of the shotgun shell cap rivet caps. And there's a special tool for setting those. And it's got, I don't know if you can see it, it's got a tiny little indented raised piece in the center because you don't want to mess up the copper raised piece in the center of the cap. So first I want to measure where I'm putting them. And I think I want to go about 1/2 inch or more out. Let's see where that would lay. Well, down there's not good. Okay, try that again. I love this granite slab that was given to me as a, oh my gosh, this thing has just been amazing. What I don't like is having large pieces on that would sit on these bones because it tends to square out a bracelet. So I'm small boned, but if I go out a full 3/4 inch, it's going to sit on those bones. So I'm going to go out about 1/2 inch, I think. Not that I'm making this for me, but I have to use a gauge, right? Some kind of gauge. So I go from the center of this smaller rivet here, turquoise rivet, and I go 1/2 inch. Now if that's my center, that's too close for me. I don't like that. So let's try the 3/4 inch from this very center. Okay, and that's right there. And I think that's going to look a lot better. There's my center. And then we'll go to the same on the other side. Now these are pretty large. They're going to take up the whole width about. So that's pretty forgiving for where I put my little center point here. Okay, get my hole punch. center it over my marking and squeeze. Give it a twist. There you go. Do the same over here. Give it a twist. Perfect. Okay. These backings, can you tell it's got a little spike on it? The stem. So I'm going to place that over. The leather is over the stem. It's got a flat backing. Lay that flat. Get my little tool. And I do want to center my 12 gauge. It does say 12 gauge on it, so I want to center that 12 gauge to where it's reading. One way or the other. Center my tool over this. And hammer. Okay, that slid a little bit to one side, so I'm going to have to figure out how to fix that. Maybe I take it out and do it again. This is part of it too, it's just kind of troubleshooting when it doesn't go quite exactly how you wanted it to. It's all a learning process for me. And again, part of the reason why I do these tutorials is because for anybody who wants to try this out, don't be afraid to just dive in, because that is literally what I've done. The only kind of classes I had was in camp when I was really young, and okay, so that's interesting. Same thing. So what I'm thinking is the backing is sticking out beyond my it didn't stay put in the center when I hammered it. The 12 gauge caps did, but the stems did not. So I have an edge of brass here. So I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to bend that, because that's going to be my easiest fix. To just bend it over the leather some. So what tool do I want to use to do that? Maybe. Let's see what happens. I love this little vise I got. This is cool. I got this at a antique store. I saw it. I was like, oh, I want to. See what that did. Oh, look, it's perfect. Ah, that makes me very happy. That's cool. Wow, no rough edges. Let's do the same to the other one. This is part of the joy of getting into crafting is picking up interesting tools and then having them be just exactly what you needed at some point in time, you know. Now I use this to hold my leather pieces when I'm stitching, saddle stitching. see if that did it. I want to do that one again. That's awesome. Okay. That's cool. I like it. Okay. This is 12 gauge. You're cool. Not perfect, but how much I do is. Somehow it all comes together in the end. See these little rubber foam board pieces that I put in there to protect the leather when I'm sewing the ends. Now this is my latest, I just acquired this. I need to clean it up some. But this will get bolted down over here. Well, not next to my sanding tool though. Let's see, I'll show you this. I found this too and cleaned it up. And this puts an edge on my wire, which I like a lot. That was really old. I cleaned that with WD-40 and oh, it just came out great. I had to let it sit in a barn for a little while though, because it stank like WD-40. Okay. So what's not perfect is I'm a little far out on this side. I'm not sure why that happened, but that's what it did. But the funny thing is when you put it on, you can't tell. So I think we'll add the ends now, and that means I need some glue or rubber cement. What do I want to use? I think I'll use the really good rubber cement. The blue is really good. They did not pay me to advertise this, but this is really good for working with leather. So I've got my toothpicks over here. I just happen to have those fancy ones, but honestly they really work well because you can use the rounded end for smoothing out something, and these are great toothpicks for leather working. Okay. Turn my fan on, which is right behind the phone. So, get a little piece of tissue paper. Always have ventilation when you're dealing with rubber cement or any kind of strong glue or the hair dye. I mean the leather dye or hair dye. So I just want to get some of this onto the tip of, I can't decide if I want to put it down in the metal or on the tip of the leather. I kind of want to put it down in the metal. I'm going to try to just keep it off of the lining as much as possible. I'm just going to fit that leather down in there. Oops. I like to use a pair of pliers. I want to clean up any of that residue that came out. So I have a clean finish. I personally can't stand it when glue shows on products, so I'm being really hyper about this. Okay. One end. Cap on so it doesn't dry out. Try it this way on this one. I just put it on the end. See which way I like it better for the next one. It's jewelry pliers for bending wire. It's great for holding looped ends. That other end was the end that the leather frayed a little bit, so it wasn't as easy to pop it in there. This end was super easy and nice and clean. We love it. And there you go. So that's going to dry overnight. But I could probably go ahead and put some findings on the end. These are so great for findings. They're little Tic Tac boxes and they come in a box. I need to find more. These are amazing. To store your findings in. It's super organized, which I must be or I go insane. Even with my organization, I still go insane. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there about how to organize your beads and your jewelry making supplies in the best way possible. And I think everyone's decided there's no perfect way. Yeah. I think we'll just go with a lobster claw. Oh no, there we go. That's what I want. Lobster claws are great. I don't mind them, especially if you need a little bigger one for someone. But I love these. These are my favorite. They're just a little more streamlined. So I'd like to use that. Unless I can find my magnet really quick. Let's see. Oh. Oh no, this is way better, I think. Let me see. Let me show y'all. Let's see. So here's what I'm looking at. I've got a little magnet clasp, which is a little too decorative, I think. It takes away from the ends here, which I don't want to do. Or I've got this guy. I'm not sure I love that either. It looks a little small on it, if you ask me. So I'm going to keep searching for something a little better. And we're going to go ahead and end this video. But thank you all for staying tuned for the main part. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed making it.